What's going on, guys? It's your boy Blxck here, back again with another custom video. In this video, I'll be taking a pair of triple white Westbrook Y9.3s and turning them into a Pikachu custom. About a couple of years ago, Russell Westbrook had a bunch of Pokemon PEs. One was Pikachu, the other one was Charizard, and the other one, I think it was a combination, but this one's going to be inspired by the Pikachu PE that it'll pop up somewhere on the screen. It's not the same model. Actually, I believe it's the second model in his signature Why Not line, but we're definitely going to work something out on the third part of his line. So, let's get started. Before we do start, I know the shoes are not brand new. I'm pretty sure somebody's seen the dark stain on the bottom. Yes, they are pre-owned. It's kind of hard to come across new shoes like these nowadays without it being expensive, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Before we start, as always, you want to take the laces off. Plus, I plan on dyeing them with some Too Soft and some paint, so it's definitely going to be needed off. Plus, I'm gonna be working with a bunch of dyes, and I don't plan on having the laces getting messed up from the dyes either. Just like with any other sneaker custom, one thing that you definitely going to need is to stuff the toe box. And in my case, I'll just be using Rejuvenator shoe trees just to have a solid surface to work around the toe area. As you can see, like if I push down, if I were like to add dye, it would just be uneven, and it would definitely be easy to tell that it's not a good job. The shoe trees will prevent that from occurring. Another benefit to stuffing the toe box or using a shoe tree is having a surface that's solid enough to work with prepping. In this case, we'll be using acetone and cotton balls to prep the leather. You want to take your time with the leather because it'll be a huge difference. Say if you do want to wear the shoes and the paint start cracking once you apply it, and it'll pretty much show that you didn't prep the leather good enough, or you rushed into prepping the leather. So take your time with the acetone and cotton balls. Now that the leather's prepped, now we can prep the areas that we don't want to get dye on, which would be pretty much the midsoles and the soles. So I'll be using paper towels and a lot of tape to prep those areas. Same thing as prepping the leather, take your time. Use an X-Acto knife if you want to get into the groove areas, because dye will seep into any crevices that is not covered properly. Now we're on to the fun part, which is pretty much mixing the dyes together. We'll be using the same colors as Pikachu, which is yellow, red, brown, and black. There is some dyes that I mix with Phury rotten cream just to adhere to the plastic, which is mainly the one on the tongue. I wouldn't recommend it since I never tried this, so it's pretty much an experiment. So if it goes well, I would say go for it. If not, just learn from my mistakes. Before I start dyeing the fabrics, I'm going to work on the plastic side tabs and the tongue tag. I'm going to replicate the tongue tag that was on the Westbrook PE with the Pokeball symbol. And on the sides, I'm going to replicate Pikachu's ears where the tips of the ears were black. As always, you want to tape around it so the dye doesn't seep onto the fabrics. Everything's taped up, napkined up. Now I'm gonna just start on the side panels. I'm going to use the black that I mixed with Phury volume cream. I'm gonna do it with a angler brush and with little bits of dye. So just pretty much applying little by little. Tongue tag, I'm gonna just use tape to outline the Pokeball shape. You can just use a Cricut and have it outline the shape for you, but since I don't have one, this would be the next best thing. So all you pretty much would have to do is just use a pen or a pencil and sketch it out, and then just use an X-Acto knife to cut out the shape. But don't dig too deep with the X-Acto knife because you can cut the plastic and it won't look good if you dig in too deep. So just be light and cut along the shape that you make. Now that we have our outline, I'm gonna just start from lightest to darkest. So first I'll start with the red, and then I'll apply the black to the masked area that I have taped off. it's time to work on the back panel. Now that we got everything masked off and taped off. Off camera, I did dye the liner and the back of the tongue with Angelus Black mixed with Too Soft, just to match with the plastic tab. First, I'm gonna work on the back tab and replicate Pikachu's tail. I'm gonna just use some Angelus Brown on the bottom half to give it a gradient, and then paint the leather panel with regular Angelus Brown. One tip I forgot to mention: when you're working with dyes, you definitely need a heat gun when you're working with dyes, especially if you're working on dyeing fabrics or on a sneaker. You want to always heat set it, because what ends up happening is if you let it sit and air dry, it'll be all crunchy and stiff, and it's not something you want to wear on your feet, say if you do wear that custom. So always heat set it, but don't overdo it to where it starts burning. You always want to keep an eye on that and have a decent amount of space between the heat gun and your sneakers. Also, with painting, you want to paint with light, even coats and move the brush around in all different directions. Otherwise, you'll have paint strokes and your work will pretty much be uneven. Since we're working with a dark color right now, it may look even with just like 3 or so coats. You just want to put some extra coats just in case for protection and even this all around. Now we're going to be working on one of the panels near the toe area. We're going to use tape to tape around it so we don't get any paint onto the mesh. We'll be applying the yellow on the mesh, which yellow is a hard color to apply, and having any other colors on it and applying the yellow on top, it makes it that more difficult to add on, and it just doesn't look professional. It's the same as the brown, but in this case I'll be using Angelus Red. you want to apply light even coats and brush in all different directions, and make sure to have about like more than 3 coats. I would say about 5 coats at most. Now it's time to prep the toe area. For this one, same thing, just mask off with tape and take your time with taping it off. This one's going to be a bit easier because of the grooves from the outside of the leather. So you can use like scissors or your fingernail to go along the crevice of the leather. For the toe area, I'll be using Angel's Black, and I'll pretty much apply the same techniques as I did with the side panels and the back panel. Now we're on to the last color, the main one, yellow. The reason I left this last is because yellow is a difficult color to apply, especially since it's being a fabric based color now. If any other color were to go on top of it, it would be very difficult to try to mask that off, and it would take a lot of work. So pretty much I'll mix fabric softener with Angel's Yellow, and I'll apply it all over the shoe that I haven't painted on, which is pretty much majority of the shoe. Everything's dyed up. Everything's pretty much coming together, and it looks a lot better than I anticipated. The last thing now is to use some Cryoline matte finish to protect the leather areas, and use some water and stain repellent to seep in the dye so it doesn't bleed if I do wear these. So that pretty much wraps up this custom. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys do, leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What's your favorite Pokemon? What you like about this custom? Is it Pikachu? Is it Charizard? Squirtle? Or are you familiar with Russell Westbrook's PEs that revolve around Pokemon? Leave a comment. Until next time, this is Black Fox. I'll see you next time. Peace.